Hello and welcome to another episode of the SMEFocus show brought to you by FactoryNOW TV. I'm your host, Chris Greenough, and in this series we will focus on SMEs within the British manufacturing sector. Every week we will discuss and analyse the opportunities and challenges facing the industry in these unprecedented times. I've worked in the sector for over 26 years. I'm CCO at STE Technology, one of the leading manufacturers of pressings and assemblies in the UK. So I hope you can appreciate that this show is very much for manufacturers by manufacturers. My guest today is Andy Whitworth, Sales Account Manager at AW Precision Limited. That was a mouthful. Welcome aboard, Andy. How are you?
Not too bad, Chris. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Great to see you, and thank you for appearing on the show. AW Precision. Tell us about what AW Precision is and what you do.
AW Precision was started back in 1970. It's a family business producing punches and dies for the metal stamping industry in the UK, Europe and worldwide. And most recently has started to encroach onto the subcontract market as a more niche element within the business.
Very good. And that subcontract, that's a conscious decision to sort of broaden the horizon and look for different markets, different sectors and different customers, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, what we realised was we're very, very good at making very small batch quantities, ones and twos.
Yep.
And actually, while we've been producing the punches and dies for many, many years, we can turn our hands to many things and help customers out that do need just that one off, two off. So it allows us to be more broader reaching, but access the same customer base. But yes, there is expansion as well.
Fantastic. And as we all know, 2020 year was a tough year for all of us. How did AW Precision fare during the initial lockdown period at the end of March and since then?
The initial lockdown period was a difficult time for a manufacturer because you had to put so many different changes into the workplace environment to allow for the safe working. We had several people on furlough, which are all now back. But also for a business of our size, it's allowed us to look more closely at how the business works and operates. Yeah. And actually, we've managed to streamline the workforce.
And did you have many on furlough at that time, or did you continue working all the way through?
We continued working all the way through, but we did furlough those that were in the high risk category, regardless of shielding letters.
Okay, and the last few months, how have the last few months been? Because we've seen certainly at SDE since sort of September, October onwards, orders are coming back. If anything, orders are far outweighing where they were at the back end of 2019. Have you seen an increase in demand?
Absolutely. We're actually at a level pre-COVID and pre-2018 level. It really is busy, very busy.
And what do you think is driving that demand?
I think there's a general demand for onshoring back into the UK. People are looking for more local suppliers, more local source. And actually, people are realising the quality of British manufacturing is paramount. And actually, the pricing isn't that bad.
No, when you look at that total cost of quality that I've mentioned in quite a few of these shows now, that total cost is not just the cost of the part, it's the quality, delivery performance, the service that you get from having a local supply chain. And I think more and more people are going to be looking for that local supply chain, local quality, and as you say, a cost that is comparable and totally on overall cost is as good as.
Absolutely. And I think also the fact that you can knock on the door and we can do it there and then.
Yeah, that's another good point is you are on the shore, as you say, and you're ready to change and you're ready to commit. So demand has been high, but are we seeing disruption in the supply chain due to the combination of COVID and now Brexit with possible delays at ports? Are you seeing material supply issues?
We're very lucky in the fact we hold a lot of our own material. Yeah. But yes, there is issues. There is issues with the customs going both ways, back into Europe and back into the UK. But as I say, we're very lucky that we invest heavily within the stock we hold. So actually, we can mitigate that issue. But there is going to come a point where it's going to start biting into the business.
Yeah, because we're seeing lead times now going out and out. Prices are going to rise. Supply and demand, and unfortunately I think consumers will see price rises.
Absolutely agree. We're waiting now for the steel increase to come through, which is inevitable to come through. Our biggest cost at the moment is actually customs charges, getting things in and out of the country, along with the excess paperwork, the excess delivery time. It's everything we didn't need. And actually, I don't think any of us were truly prepared for what was coming, because no one actually knew what was coming.
Yeah, I mean, the deal had been done, but because we didn't know what paperwork we had to produce, now I find businesses have now got their act together and they know what paperwork they've got to do, but I find there's not enough resource at the ports to deal with this extra paperwork.
Absolutely right. I mean, we've shipped all over the world for many, many years. So we knew the process, we knew what paperwork we needed, but actually, even those processes aren't working. It seems to be each customs officer in a different country is doing different things. As a business, you can't manage that in the true sense, but actually, we're doing better than we thought, but every day is a learning day.
And do you do all that paperwork yourself internally? Do you use an agent? I mean, we've been fairly lucky with our Shropshire Chamber of Commerce. They seem to be really geared up, and that's a good port to call. Do you do that internally, or do you outsource that?
We use Coventry and Warwickshire Chamber of Commerce because that's the one local to us, but actually we do most of the paperwork internally ourselves, along with the carrier companies we use.
Yeah, and then just get them to do the check or the export declaration at the end.
That's it.
And and how do you see that panning out? Do you think this is now the norm and this is the level of paperwork we've got to deal with forever? Do you think there's another transition period where things will get slightly better?
I'd like to be optimistic and say things are going to get better, but will that work? I would genuinely like to see the government now look at the trade deal and go, okay, what does work, what doesn't work? And I'm not saying we throw the trade deal out, but there is an opportunity to renegotiate that trade deal, because if you look at the Northern Ireland issue at the moment, things aren't getting any easier. And these changes, they're not teething issues, they're now systematic issues. So they're going to have to be addressed.
And the rest of 2021, in terms of AW Precision, what do you see in terms of growth, investment?
Well, we've got a new machine coming in next week, so that's £100,000 worth of investment, probably another 200,000 to 300,000 over the year. I'm looking to potentially get a new salesperson on board as well for the subcontract side of the market. We're looking to expand into the defence market, so I can only see growth, and actually growth in other avenues, which is fantastic. There'll still be growth within the stamping industry, but again, with what's happened with the transition deals with the EU, if people like JLR decide to go offshore, then we're going to have issues. But let's see what happens. I'm optimistic for the future, as I think most British manufacturers are.
Absolutely. I see that optimism. To most people I speak, they see 2021 very much as a much better year than 2020. Couldn't be a lot worse, but also better than 2019. And they see the reshoring as real possibilities. So in terms of that, maybe £200,000-300,000 investment this year, how does that stand with where you were in, say, 17, 18, 19? Is this an average year of investment, or is this a real push?
This is an average year of investment. But it's genuinely investment in machinery to reduce the amount we've already got. We don't need the years old of 15540 JNSs. You only need one type of thing. So actually, although it is an average year investment, the cost savings, the benefits are huge. Yeah, absolutely.
And what about, you say that investment in machines, have you also got investment plans, you say, about taking on potentially a new salesperson? So have you got, what about your management team as it is now? Do you keep constantly training those and upskilling those?
Absolutely. We're currently looking at ILM courses for coaching and mentoring. And it's important to continually invest in the workforce, not just at management level, but across the board. Even down to the point of dispatch and shipping.
Yeah, and I know you and your team do quite a lot on LinkedIn and social media. And how important do you see that now, a push to a different way of selling and a different way of connecting with customers from where we were during the lockdown last year?
I think it's a completely different way of working. I like to be face to face. But at the same time, we've got to be aware that what's happened within the last year is going to continue forward. And actually, it's become more productive for businesses. I've spent less time in the car and more time at the desk. And I think it's important that we now start looking into the way social media works, along with we're looking at new website. We're also looking at the way we use social media and social marketing. It's going to grow. It's going to get bigger. And I think people have got a lot more time and a lot more savvy with the way they're using social media to promote businesses to other users.
Sounds really good. I'm glad to hear about the investment plans and the way the business is going. Looking forward, sort of 5-10 years, what are the aims for AW Precision? What are your aims?
Our aims are to get further into the defence market for UK infrastructure, but also to ensure we remain as the UK's largest producer of punch and die, and also to ensure we get that better grip on the European market than we're currently left with.
And you say European market, do you export to the rest of the world as well?
We do, but only very small amounts, purely because our competition are more stronger within the rest of the world market. So yes, I see a market for us, but again, it will be in a very niche area.
Good to hear. Good to hear about the investment. Thank you for your time today, Andy. Good to catch up, and we'll catch up again soon.
Pleasure. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you, Andy. That brings us to the end of another show. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to meeting more of our brilliant SME manufacturers next week. If you would like to get in touch with the show, with a comment, a suggestion, or even to appear on a future episode, please email us tv@mtd.media. Thank you for watching. So from me, Chris G at SDE, goodbye.